Hi, this is Andre. This is the second Beebo Loopler periodic report. If you're not familiar with Beebo or the Loopler module within it, I'm going to refer you back to the first video that we did a couple of months back. At that time, the firmware version for Beebo was 3.5. This current video you're watching now was made using firmware version 3.15. So there's been a lot of updates since the previous video. None of those updates have specifically addressed anything to do with Loopler, so there have not been any deliberate changes with Loopler behavior since the first video, but Loopler is deep enough that I could easily make many videos going through functions with just the 3.5 version of the firmware and not repeat myself. So this is not necessarily a problem. There's still a lot to talk about with Loopler. This particular video is going to touch on a few different subjects. MIDI control has been a really commonly requested subject, and we're going to look at how to assign MIDI control to different Loopler functions. We're going to look at feedback in more detail, quantization, scratch, various multiple loop things. Now, one thing you'll notice throughout is that there are some moments where things are acting a little weird. In some cases, these seem like bugs. In some cases, they seem like operator error. One of the advantages to doing a video like this is that I can retrace my steps, and it's much easier for me to determine if I had actually done something wrong or if it seems like I was doing something right and we got some weird behavior. We'll talk about this some more at the end of the video, but in the meantime, this is a deep dive. It's about a half hour long, so I encourage you to use the timestamps that are listed below if you want to jump to any particular sections. Alright, so we have our Loopler patch here. We're going to hit loop common in, and that brings us to the control panel. Now, right now I have this MIDI pedal running into the Loopler, into the Beebo, but as you can see, it's not doing anything because I haven't assigned any of these switches yet. So, to assign a MIDI control, first thing we do is push the MIDI icon down there. That gives us three options. You can bind the assignment that we're about to make to the selected loop, whatever that is, all the loops, or loop 0. Loop 0 is the one you start with. I'm going to choose selected loop. Next thing we need to do is decide which of these functions we want to assign to an incoming MIDI command. We want to assign record. It's a good place to start with looping. And now you can see that the icon is flashing in anticipation. And now we send a command, boom, boom. We have a record button. There we go. Let's do some more of this. So press this. Want to assign it to selected loop. Let's do overdub. Flashing. Boom, boom. Overdub is assigned. Let's keep going. Selected loop. Let's do multiply. Huzzah. Selected loop. Let's do replace. Sweet. Before we do anything else, I'm just going to play just to make sure that things are doing things. Okay, a little glitchy with the multiply. So let's try remultiplying that down. Sure. So one multiple. Okay, yeah, a little bit of a glitch there appended. It's kind of cool sounding. We're kind of in a different time signature now, so let's do something in 3, I guess. Now let's see if we can get back to 4/4. Sure. Now let's see if we can get 2 multiples of this. Not quite. Still a cool time signature though. Let's try one more time. There we go. So we've still got that glitchy thing, which I kind of like, but now we're in 4/4. Alright, let's reverse this. Alright, let's overdub. go out of reverse. Well, I don't like that so much. Let's undo. There we go. All right, overdub again. All right, before we do anything else, let's assign feedback to one of these continuous controllers. All right, so I press the feedback button. It's there. Now I'm going to move this continuous controller pedal. And there we go. All right, and we want play feedback so that we can do this. If you bring feedback down in just part of the loop, you can get those swells. So let's undo that. And let's have Overdub be open. All right, I'm just going to bring feedback down selectively in a few spots. Let's open this up so we can see how feedback changes. So if we bring feedback all the way down, we only get one repetition. It's not quite at 0, but that's the Behringer's fault. Sometimes the calibration's a little off. If we bring feedback up to a medium level, then it'll fade out fairly gradually. You can hear it, each repetition is getting a little quieter than the last. If we bring feedback all the way up, then it repeats infinitely. And if we bring feedback down in just part of a loop, then we impose these volume swells into it. Okay, let's go back up here. Let's reverse. And let's bring feedback down. Let's go back here so we can see the value changing. For my sake, I get nervous if I can't see it changing. So this is a medium level. Let's bring it all the way down. Back up. And let's do a little replace stuff. Let's get out of overdub as well. Oh, were we still in reverse? Maybe so. Undo. Cool, let's try that again. There we go. All right, let's clear this out. And let's look at quantizing to divisions of the loop. So we're down here in global settings, we're going over to quantize. We're going to select 8th. And 8th per cycle basically lets you divide the loop, or the cycle I should say, into multiple divisions. It divides it into divisions. Very good, Andre. So now we're trying to get up to 8, but it doesn't want to let us. So let's try recording something from scratch. I noticed that sometimes the BPM configuration is a little odd. All right, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Let's try this. So this is kind of a classic technique. I'm going to do some replace stuff, and you will hear that the start and end point is going to be locked to a very specific subdivision of the loop. And this was happening a little earlier. It looks like we're actually getting this divided into sevenths instead of eighths. Sometimes I notice that that gets a little off, so let's try bumping it up to 9. Come on, there we go. Alright, let's clear this out, and let's do a new key. So this is just overriding everything. And now, let's see if our eighths are eighths. 8th is kind of an arbitrary number when it comes to that, because you can divide a cycle into pretty much anything you want. There we go. There we go. All right. So you get that impossibly precise step sequencer kind of sound, which I really love. So we're going to do a little more. Actually, we're going to do it with overdub. So you have the option of whether or not you want overdub quantize, and we do. So now we go back to commands. You don't have to go back to commands, but I feel good seeing the functions as they're activated so I know what's going on. So now we're going to do some overdub stuff, and it's going to be quantized to the nearest 8th division of the loop. There we go. Oh. Let's get rid of that major third, please. There we go. Alright, no major thirds in a moody, sexy, minor drone, Andre. Okay, it's supposed to be a third, evidently. Can't fight fate, right? It's exotic and ambiguous, right? Right. So you can hear the start and end point of all of these overdubs is being mapped right to the nearest 8th. Now let's do some overdub stuff. Is this a third? A minor third. Good. And the difference here is that you can hear we're not overwriting the content in the loop, we're overdubbing on top of it. So the quantized overdub still gets you that step sequencery sound. But this time you're not copying over stuff, so the texture is gradually getting more and more dense. I'm going to cover up that one thing where I got a bit of a phlegm. There we go. And that was replaced, and you can hear totally overrode everything. So a little more quantized overdub. And again, you can hear everything is locked inhumanly precisely. Maybe inhuman, but I like it. This is replaced, so now we're going to override stuff. Not the smoothest transition I've ever played, but we'll survive. Especially if we bring feedback down. And again, you don't have to change the page here, but I feel better seeing what the actual value is. There we go. Alright, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to do some quantized overdub. Actually, I'm going to bring feedback down a little more than that. Okay. And now we'll do some quantized overdubbing. quantized replace just to mix it up. And you can hear we're fading out, and that's what we want, because feedback is set at about 60-70%. So a gradual fade out is exactly what we would expect from just such a setting. Gonna overdub some more stuff. I'm leaving overdub open, so we're not gonna get that sequencer sound. I'm gonna reverse that. I'm gonna bring feedback back up. That's getting a little much, so let's replace stuff. Oh! That's interesting. Not quite what I expected. Alright, so maybe it's a weird interaction with reverse. Let's try this. I'm going to build up a second loop, add mono loop. I want this to be synchronized to the first loop, so quantize is on, which is good, and we need to have sync turned on. Alright, and now because I have that loop selected and not that, fingers crossed, this should control just our brand new loop here. And it is quantized to an eighth, so it's not terribly problematic that it isn't totally one measure. So it's still locked in rhythmically. Let's reverse this. Nice. Oh, that's nice. Let's get out of overdub and just solo this one for a second. That's really nice, if I do say so myself. Okay, let's unsolo this. Now I'm going to add another mono loop. Quantize and sync are already on, so now I'm going to try recording something that is locked to the same eighth value as loop 0, but let's see if it can be a different length. So it's still quantized rhythmically, but it's going to be a slightly different length, so hopefully we can get some cool phasing stuff. Let's find out. Just hear that by itself. Yeah, so a 3 against 4 thing happening. I'm gonna mute the main thing. Build up on this a little more. I'm liking this. Well, I liked it up until I said I liked it, so let's undo back. Sure, let's just work with that a little more. unsolo that. Let's mute the main one. Actually, let's mute that. Let's bring this back in. Yeah, so it's phasing rhythmically. Let's do this. Let's delete that loop, because I'm not crazy about it. Let's change quantized to cycle. Oh. Alright, we were quantized to 8th, now we're quantized to cycle, so this should guarantee that a new loop is going to be locked to the exact length of the OG loop. And did I do something wrong? Oh, I did do something wrong. Sync wasn't on. Okay. Delete that. Add mono loop. Sync on. Sync on. Sync on. Alright, let's try it again. Not even gonna play anything. Oh, didn't mean to record that long. Promising. There we go. Overdub off. Solo that. Let's reverse it because I'm reverse crazy tonight. There we go. I like that. Close overdub. Unmute that. Not bad if I do say so myself. Alright, let's go a little nuts. Let's bring that one up down to half speed. And let's just solo that. Unsolo that. Let's solo this. Let's bump that up to twice the speed. Is that going to be annoying? Let's see. It's okay. Let's bring it down. Wet is essentially the same as level, and after you select a continuous slider-based control, you can use these knobs to change the value. You can bring it all the way down if we're so inclined. There we go. And let's bring that back up to full speed. And let's play with scratch. So scratch is basically scratching the loop turntable style. I'm going to bring this loop back in. And now we go back to, where is scratch? There's scratch. Oh, I need to select the loop I want to scratch, don't I? There we go. All right. Let's fade that loop out very gradually. Let's bring feedback to, yeah, just under 100%. So now we should, there we go. And that's taking a little long to fade out. Oh, maybe that's because feedback is all the way up. All right. And scratch. Let's bring this other muted loop back in. And let's scratch a little more. This is R2D2 core. And let's not change the pitch, or no, let's change the pitch. I can't talk. All right, rate. Come on, rate. There we go. And sure, let's scratch. When software starts doing weird stuff, one of the questions you have to ask yourself is that weird stuff the result of some kind of bug in the software, or is it because I as a user don't really know what I'm doing? And in this video, as you saw, there were cases of both of those. I've tried to be very honest and upfront when it seemed like I was doing something wrong or when I didn't understand the layout. And it's important to point out that even though Loopler is based on EDP style architecture, the actual interface is substantially different than the EDP. A big part of that that is because Loopler does multiple simultaneous loops, which the EDP does not. I've been using the EDP for about 26 years, but it was only when I got a hold of the Beebo unit earlier this year, earlier in 2021, that I actually started being able to work with multiple simultaneous loops in a hardware device for the first time. So I have no particular preconceptions about how that stuff should be accessed. Overall, I think the layout of Loopler is really, really nice. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think that the operator errors are basically me needing to do my homework a little more on this stuff. There were also some things in the video that struck me as being bugs rather than any operator error on my part, and I've tried to point that out when I saw them. It's also worth pointing out that I'm kind of a weird beta tester for this kind of thing, just because I tend to use functions and combinations of functions in ways that are not terribly commonplace. And in some ways that does not make me a great beta tester, because it means that I am liable to uncover bugs that may not be a problem for anybody else, just because I may use these functions in ways that are very uncommon. And from a developer's point of view, if you have 50 users asking for a certain issue, and you have one random user talking about some very obscure bugs with one particular module, I understand where the 50 people are going to be the priority for you. So I am not of the opinion that anything that I am reporting here has to be a priority for Poly Effects or anyone else. I should also point out that just because Loopler is based on the EDP does not mean that it is under any obligation to behave exactly like the EDP, so certain things like the multiply oddness that I was noticing may ultimately have at least as much to do with differences in function implementation as it does with things that strike me as buggy behavior. So there's still a lot that I love about Loopler. I really enjoy working with it. There are some bugs that I think could be squashed, but I also understand that this is one of many, many elements of Beebo that is in a constant state of development. So I'm optimistic that those things will be addressed, but I'm also genuinely very grateful that we have a Beebo and a Loopler to work with in any form whatsoever. As always, thank you for tuning in. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.